Today I'm happy to present this latest really cool feature where you can turn any mesh into a surface for on-plane tool and start to design on top of that surface. Gives unlimited freedom for creation of complicated shapes, complicated designs. And in this video I will explain how it works and I will demonstrate all the features. First thing here, I will open a scene which I've already prepared before. And there are a few things how we can prepare the surface for the on-plane tool to work. And the easiest way is to go and run Retopology. And we want to create only quads Retopo. You can see here I have a very low poly count just set to 100 because we don't want too many polygons that will make everything running too slow. I'll click here next, next. And here we have a very simple approximation of the surface. Maybe I even went a bit too low with polygons, but this is the basic concept. So now we are in the Retopo room and we need to go into the modeling room. And here I want to go down to create smart hybrid and I click here, create hybrid. I have to really click it, otherwise it will not create it. And now I'll go back into the Sculpt room and I have my hybrid mesh there. And then I will go and duplicate this layer, hide the previous one, make sure this empty layer is empty. And I will go into the blob tool and I will activate on-plane tool and I'll search for the type of the surface. You can see a smart hybrid in this case is already pre-selected and there are a few operations I can run. One is I can run a round border and I'll click fill the smart hybrid with this round border kind of density idea. So then we get a surface, we get a voxels filled up thin surface. So if I undo it, we can go back and there are these options here. I can offset it. For example, since this surface is kind of sinking into the existing sculpt too much, I can do an offset and I can start creating shapes with an offset. And I need to rotate and face my camera with my projection. I usually don't use offset. I try to clean to the surface because it creates less issues and I prefer it that way. Do watch for the poly count. So right now I'm kind of in mid-level density. You don't want to go too heavy, it will get a little bit too slow. But this is one way of creating a surface, a hybrid surface. It's very quick, but not always the best, depending on the task you want to do. So let me create a new one and I will just go and delete this existing one. And I'll go into the Retopo room and I'll delete this upper body and I will start doing the Retopology and prepare my surface. For that, I will use points to polygons and I don't need the on-plane here. For points to polygons, I will be just clicking and placing the points and I want to have a color, for example, placing these quads all around it. And I press right mouse button and I create a fill up the quads. It's important to have quads because if this is not a quad, if it's a triangle or an odd face angon, it will start to create holes. I'm kind of trying not to catch that middle of the polygon to create the patch, so I'll kind of help. And then I press the right mouse button and I move these points around and I can, okay. It snaps over its symmetry. And let me go create this mesh. A good thing about the surface, it doesn't have to be enclosed. It doesn't have to be watertight. We can have holes. And in this case, I want this basically t-shirt type surface. And if I press Control, I can draw an edge loop and fill up more polygons and create a denser topology that will stick to the mesh better. I want it low poly, but I don't want it, well, extremely too low because I don't want to penetrate and go through the sculpt. I want the sculpt to be behind the surface, the hybrid surface. If I get it like a very stubborn polygon and it will snap around there, I can always use some tools like a quad tool. I will pick one side and go to the next one and click on those to connect it. Then I say have my sleeve and I want to put a few more edge loops around this many and I want to pick a brush and right click, drag, press shift and smooth this all out a little bit. I just want to have a nicer spread of polygons and don't want to sync it too much. It does. If it starts to sync, I can left mouse just push it up. Okay, it doesn't have to be perfect really. And then I have to go into the mesh and say apply symmetry to current layer so it gets mirrored. And then I go into the modeling room. I go into the create smart hybrid and remember you have to click create smart hybrid, otherwise it doesn't get committed to the sculpting room. And I go and I can see I have my shirt and I can check I don't have any holes apart from the sleeves and the neck, which are at the bottom. So let me go clean this layer and start designing something else. I will click on plane, and I have to pick this hybrid. It's called the same as before. And then I can start drawing the shapes on the mesh, and now with a bit more curvature to the surface than it was before, it's cleaning to the surface better, and then getting better results with projection. If I want a different thickness, I can just use brackets on my keyboard and increase the thickness for the belt. And basically I'm using round border right now. I can switch to sharp. It'll give a different look. Say if I imagine in some big pockets on this chest, I can make a really big brush, and that will create a pocket. And if I want to create like a pocket cover, I will make it a brush even a little bit bigger, and that will be kind of our pocket cover. If I want to remove something, I can just press Control, drag it out, and it will subtract the mesh. I don't need to exit to any other tools. I can just use blob doing everything here. And again, you do want to face your camera and projection, rectangular in this case, in one direction, in the same direction. You want to make sure your camera is looking down, otherwise it creates just a bit of distortion. I can also hide the hybrid. I keep it there visible just so I have some kind of visual surface to deal with. When it gets this see-through mode, it gets a little bit annoying. And one of the limitations of the tool right now, we cannot drag a big rectangular and get like a whole sleeve circled with voxels. This is not something that's possible yet, but most likely it will be possible in the future. However, even as it is, I think it's actually incredibly useful tool. Can do really cool stuff with it. And it also works with all other tools that 3D has to offer. I can turn off on plane and switch to something else, say scrape, and I start to tweak this. I would say that, okay, these pockets, they're too flat, they're too sharp. I'll fix that. Can use the flatten tool from the surface tool set. I like how it gets this interesting kind of polishing touches. Another important thing is that I can use the array tools. I can create a rectangular there, press 5, and I'll drag out an array and create a pattern on the surface. Then I spend a little bit of time adding details and created this simple harness vest. Go check it out with the latest update of 3D Code. I think it's quite a revolutionary feature. You can apply it to many things.